Hello and welcome back for some more roller derby action for officiating analysis from helmet camera footage. I have a nice game for you today. This is the semi-final game from the Swedish National Championship tournament played in April 2026, and the teams playing are Stockholm roller derby in white and Gothenburg roller derby playing in blue, and we are doing the jammer ref position once again. Right away there's some tight action here, watching for direction of gameplay, and mildly in the end whether the skater is initiating clockwise contact. It's kind of hard to tell where the actual impact is coming. What is the time that the jammer is pushed out? You could argue direction gameplay, but every time you need to actually argue instead of having a clear penalty. Then usually very often it's better to not make the call. Here you see this blocker coming into the cut position, shielding the cuts, and well, a lot of action on here on the line. Like here, we see the jammer now is already re-entered, so this contact is free to be initiated. Again, could argue for some mild directional gameplay. Not quite clear enough for my tastes, but certainly could be made. But not a call that I would say would make the game more fair or safe, so happy to let the skaters play. We are still on our initial pass, initial trip, and apparently the lead was open. Didn't quite pay attention to everything watching the footage right here, but we award a lead jammer to our white jammer number 3 here. Nice offense coming here. So there's this clockwise motion, but it's like clockwise first and then initiating the block. So that's the way you do it without getting a direction of gameplay penalty. We just about stay in bounds. So here we have 3 points. All these blockers have been scored on because we are still in bounds. Here there's actually this whoop quite pronounced here. The jersey tag. If you watch this in real time, could be argued that the jammer is keeping themselves on the track, but at least initially. But I don't think the pass was caused by the tug, and in the end the jammer ends up going out of bounds. So if the jammer did not end up going out of bounds, I would argue, or much higher chance of there being a forearm penalty. But as things stand, we give 3 points for the scoring trip. Call off the jam and go to the next one with both of our jammers on the track. And this game is played in front of the home crowd in Gothenburg, Gothenburg, in Sweden. And historically, Gothenburg has been the underdog, though there has been a recent league merge. So Gothenburg has gotten considerably stronger in the rankings in recent times. But I think the general sentiment has been that Stockholm is the favorite. But here we are again with the lead jammer, going now on our second scoring trip, and a very tight scoring situation. Here the jammer is like putting hands in the air, sort of like one of the ways jammers signal that, yeah, I'm about to call it, and please be quick, I don't want to give points away to my opponents. So I'm ready with the call off. I know they are gonna call it very soon. And there's the call off. And my initial reaction here was that there's 2 points scored. So, because I think there's only 3 blockers on the track for the blue team. And here, I'm pretty sure that the hips of the white jammer are ahead of the hips of this blue blocker, because of this blocker stance, sort of like hips pushed backwards. So certainly points there, I think. And yeah, we can see there briefly at there was only 3 blue blockers on the track, so 1 in the penalty box. Presumably, so 2 points for passing 1 blue blocker on the track. And a new jammer. We're getting recycled backwards. Important to yourself move with the jammer, so you are at the same line when they re-enter, so you can actually tell the re-entry order, or where, in front of who and behind who does the jammer actually re-enter the track. Lead awarded to blue team, so almost a star pass completed, not quite. Already 1 official was baited in the showing the signal. Obviously the teams are trying to deceive the opponents, often end up deceiving the officials as well. But in the end, no star pass. We get through from the initial pass. I'm expecting the jump to be called, maybe. Yep. 0 points for us following the white jammer. Here in this first period, we're following the white jammer. Second period, it's the blue jammer for us. Some all kinds of hands up here, like both ways here. Maybe a bit small extension. Jammer and just up staying in bounds. Not enough for me to give any contact penalties there, and we get the lead jammer for white on our first scoring trip, and that's, believe, all the points. If we here coming in, we get 1 point to wait. Okay, I again think there's one. Yeah. What you need to realize here is that I believe there's an unmarked jammer, so I think this skater is the jammer. All the rest are blockers, so yep, you can see the star cover in the hand. When you're coming into the back pack with high speed, it's sometimes hard to keep track of all this. You might think that it's 4 blockers here, but actually there's 1 blocker in the penalty box, so you need to know that first pass is already 2 points. So 2 points from passing blue 5. And yes, I believe it is actually blue and not green. Got to love this team. Very nice colors, like petrol-ish, but can cause some confusion, especially if the other team can only feel the blue or green jersey. But yeah, I digress. So we have 2 points from passing blue 5. Now it's 3 points. Only 1 left is the world's okayest skater. Here and there we get the 4th point. So now we have all of our points. I believe there's a no pack being called there. And while the no pack is ongoing, my jammer is getting pushed out of bounds. You can actually hear me call blue, green, 5, but there's the confusion I was talking about. Evident in my own actions, but regardless, correct skater goes into the box, and you might have heard me, I made the verbal cue, illegal contact, when, well, which is not incorrect, but more specific one that I could have used would have been out of play block. And here you saw our jammer being recycled by the opposing jammer, which can result in those like recyclings way beyond the engagement zone, behind the pack. Very tight pack here, but we get through nicely, staying in. Legal gameplay. Awarding lead for white team. We get three points very quickly. While there's all kinds of chaos, there's blocker penalties being enforced, but we have our own job to do, which is call off the jam, give the points. Multiplayer block enforced there, and our jammer forced to be able to go through. I believe there was a no pack called, so that's why the green blockers let up. Green? Blue? Okay. Just assume if I'm saying green or blue, I'm talking about the Gothenburg team. Apparently I can't. I'm usually pretty okay with this stuff when I'm actually officiating, but yeah. Here, well, if I'm like playing this back a lot of times, might be like a forearm extension here. Like here, you can see that's, well, kind of hard to say for sure, but certainly looks a bit like the white jammer is pushing the blocker down. But it's always hard when they have like full body contacts. But yeah, maybe a missed forearm penalty there. Of course, what the jammer referee is primarily... Okay, a lot of stuff happening again. Yeah, what I'm mostly focused when... If I'm standing here and the jammer is here, I'm looking down at the feet, because I really need to know when the jammer goes out of bounds, so like forearms higher up can easily get missed. Here again, I believe white team was like recycling as a full team, probably earning a distraction call, but clearly no pack presently here. And again, our jammer getting blocked out by the skater who is not in play because there's no pack. Calling a green A3 for out of play block, this time the most accurate verbal cue. For the same infraction we already gave one penalty for earlier. Ooh, there's a nice apex jump going through. Let's look at that in slow motion. I mean, we're not looking at that because we are following the whites, but wow, this is amazing. Landing in bounds, all points already, and other leg also in bounds, and obviously very like impossible to tell when the knee / leg is hitting the ground, but looks a lot like it might, like, yeah, from the footage certainly can't tell that it was not a fully landed one. Maybe the hand, but obviously one hand out is fine, so amazing jump. Let's look at it one more time in real time. Just for the admiration. There we go. Nicely done. Okay, let's back for our actual job, watching the white jammer who might have gone out of bounds briefly there. Maybe. Yeah, probably. So then you would be thinking about cut call. Certainly this skater is like initiating a block that forces our jammer to this line near the outside, so probably a missed cut penalty there. Again, a bit hard to tell when exactly the wheels are on the ground, when you're only looking at footage. Big hit there, completely fine, but let's look at this re-entry. This, well, obviously our jammer getting hit out by this block. So the point they re-enter the track is, and yeah, this pivot is trying to recycle, so they are trying to go behind the jammer before the jammer fully re-enters the track. Wow, fantastic graphics there by me, if I say so myself. So the point we are looking at is when they are no longer touching out of bounds. That would be at this moment. So this is the moment the white jammer is re-entering the track, and we can see that they do re-enter the track behind this pivot. And the pivot is like arguing for a cut penalty. I remember thinking in real time that my call was that the re-entry happens before, or legally, before the pivot has time to go behind, so that would be upheld by this footage. So go me. We are staying here defending, I think. Regardless what we're doing, our job really doesn't change. We are counting points. We are watching our jammer being hit out by green A3. Jam is called off. No clue about the points, you can tell me. It can be good practice to like count points in your head while you're watching the footage. And here we see a lot of commotion, like our jammer is trying to get up, and I'm trying to watch if this opponent is pushing them when they are down, which is not allowed for safety reasons. Couldn't quite tell clearly enough, at least, of any illegal contact there. And very tight scrum. all the 10 skaters in the same couple of square feet. Very close to the direction of gameplay. Happens a lot when you have tight, slow scrums. And we finally get through, and in the end here there's this whip, and which would be, well, it is a multiplayer link, so I'm trying to see if it is clearly challenged by this green blocker. I'm just gonna call them green. I think they are green. Maybe I said blue earlier. Well, anyway, what I'm trying to assess if this link is being challenged by the green blocker, and in my opinion, no. So no multiplayer call for our jammer, and we call off the jam. And nice little collision / hug by the jammers there. Obviously these skaters, a lot of them know each other very well. They play each other very often, being among the top teams in their country, and the cities are not that far apart. shorter jam there. I believe we end up with no points for our jammer. Now we get lead. Approaching our first scoring trip. Maybe 2 points would be my guess. Yep, that is what I end up giving. It's like here we are passing, right here we are past these 2 blockers here, but these 2 have not been passed. And I believe we're never passed, so we're going with 2 points for that scoring trip. There I'm obviously I can't tell whether my jammer is staying in bounds. What I'm looking for is this official here, closest. Here I can see them nodding. I'm like, great, I give lead. Bit of a traffic jam. There, no collisions. All points scored. Here I can hear and shout points, so I'm expecting like a quick call-off. So I'm on my toes there. Clear 2 points, I think. And the call-off, and we're already here in the next jam. Again, with the tight scrum, blocker penalty assessed. For green pivot, obviously blocker penalties often inconsequential for jammer referees, but it's very useful to be aware of whether your jammer's pivot is on the track, whether there can be a star pass or not. And we stay in nicely and get out of the pack, but the jam is called before we score any points. Moving on. Again, checking the outside, getting the all clear, so we are awarding lead. All points. Not sure if we are going on. We are not. We are calling off the jam. All right, moving on. Nice hit around jammer. Initiator is staying in bounds, forcing our jammer to recycle. Lead has been awarded to the other team, so our jammer removing the helmet cover. So if needed, they can complete a star pass quicker. Clearly good re-entry there. Out of play called for the last blocker. And as the opposing jammer was stuck on the initial trip, so they call off the jam and we move on to the next one with a 0-0 points being scored. Again, there was trying to keep an eye on the pivot as well as the jammer in this situation. Skaters can very easily sneak a star pass on you. And it's one of the most embarrassing things to like be stuck in the pack staring at what you think is a jammer, but then somebody knocks on your shoulder like, yo, your jammer's way over there, should you be with them? here, well, let's get this one all the way through. We pass these 3 skaters. There's this pivot. Again, for me it's hard to assess the direction of gameplay here. Close to clockwise. Hitting our jammer out, but going out themselves. So actually, and because at the point where the white jammer goes out of bounds, they are past everybody else. So the only skater who could have drawn the cut is this one, but they go out of bounds, lose their superior position. So actually it would be completely legal for this jammer to just like go back on the track here. Obviously they can't know that. But actually, yeah, it ends up being relevant that the pivot went out of bounds because my jammer re-enters in front of them. So this would be a cut otherwise, but it's not. So I show the no earned pass signal because the initiator of the block had gone out of bounds.